Hey everyone, I'm the Rev. Now this is going to be something very different because this absolute nobody got to interview Stephen Hood from Studio 397. Now, I'm not constrained like traction and overtake and things like that. I'll do things my way and I can ask whatever I want. Whether he chooses to answer it is another matter, but I can still ask whatever I want. So I do hope you enjoy the video. Do let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are.
Hit me up.
Okay, all right then. Well, Stephen, thanks very much for joining me. Obviously, this is the first time I've done anything like this, and I'm going to do it my way, the same way that I always do everything. I am not corporate, as I've alluded to in the past. I don't do it things that way. I do things a bit more down to earth. So thanks very much for joining me. Much appreciated. I'm going to speak a little bit about version 1.4 on the Mans Ultimate.
Sure, why not? I mean, I'm at your disposal. I'm more than happy to be here. It's always a delight to have a conversation with you. In the way that you outlined how it's going to go, I'm fully expecting a massive car crash. So let's go.
Just as I always do things. So we'll start with, obviously, version 1.4 is coming up. What would you say is the thing that is the most exciting to you and the most exciting thing that the player should get excited about for version 1.4?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to talk about, what people get really excited about, because some people get, excited about the tiniest of things. I guess the thing that's been on my mind the most recently is probably resolving what I and the team believe to be a growing conversation in the community about driving standards.
Okay.
Like that's always, an issue where, we've got a protest system in there, but it's helped to a certain degree, and people say the protests aren't, resolved quick enough or fairly enough, or it's not transparent enough. And it's always, that's great, but I want this and I want this and I want this. And that's normal. So it's taken us some time, but we've been investing in the background, in the technology, and also starting to hire people. You might start seeing some adverts going out, job adverts going out, where we're bringing people on and they're going on the payroll to become full-time stewards, like to go through these reports. So I think that's probably one of the most important things for me personally, is to start tackling, the community negativity about driving standards. Because we're not really hosting most pro drivers, and a lot of people aren't intended to make mistakes. So you've got to review things fairly. But the technology and the new people coming on board enable us to deliver up a system that will be faster and more efficient for people. And I think tackling a big problem in the community is something that hopefully everybody recognises Team LMU are doing all the time, because the product that we have today is going to be very different from the product that we have tomorrow, and so on. And it keeps improving. It's a big challenge, but I'm quite excited about how that works.
I think for the driving standards, now bearing in mind my driving standards can be poor sometimes, but yeah, I do make mistakes. I think it's like, do you not think there's a little bit of an element of like match of the day about it, as in it's incredibly difficult to come down to who, unless it's absolutely blatantly obvious who was at fault. How on earth do you build a system that's going to say, well, this was this driver's fault, or this was this driver's fault, especially if it's like one of those more like racing incident type things? Or are we talking about intentional wrecks here?
Yeah, I think it's a variation, because people can protest for a number of reasons. But you're right, there's always context in things. A lot of people don't intend to make mistakes. I mean, they're very clear intentional things where somebody just becomes, a 1,000-mile-an-hour missile into somebody at turn one. Is probably fairly clear cut for stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I know, when you're being, super cheeky and we're driving side by side and you claim it's not, intentional, we get the data on steering input and stuff like that, what you do in the brakes. We can see where all the other cars were, because all of that context makes a difference. So we do have an automated system that can apportion blame, and that's been running in the background for a long time. It's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It's not going to take over the world. It's not going to bring doom and gloom for AI, but that's why we add people to the mix as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because looking through the history is really important, and it's also building a history on individuals. Some people are more reckless than others. A lot of people are just in the races because they want to have a good time. And some people even start from the back or from the pit lane because they don't want to cause trouble for other people. I want them to enjoy the race. And sometimes enjoying the race means being in the mix. So we've got to make that more accessible and open to people in a way that maybe the prior system wasn't strong enough.
Right.
It's an ever-advancing challenge, right? So I think this investment in technology and service will become more noticeable for people very quickly, and I'm excited about that.
Well, I'm sure people are going to like that, to be fair. And like your net code makes it so you can get in the mix, you can go racing, you can go side by side. But obviously, like you say, there are people out there that take that obviously a little bit too far. So yeah, I think people are going to like that, to be honest with you. And this is a couple of minutes in now, and I'm already going to go off script and ask a question that's not on my board. So is that going to feed? How is that going to feed into like the badge system? Because I know that some people have got complaints in relation to the badge system about like the fact that they have 2 bad races and they're straight down into warning and all that kind of stuff. Is that going to feed into the badge system?
I don't think that necessarily feeds into the badge system, because there's an ELO system to like give people driver rating, and of course people. More often than not, if they make a comment about that kind of system, it's with a view to it being negative for them as an individual. Like, I lost loads of driver rating, and some of it can be true, and some of it's not true, because we don't expose all of the numbers behind that system. And maybe sometimes the way that we showcase your driver rank in the badges and everything that goes along with it isn't as clear as we would like it to be, and we will tackle that in the future. But it is distinct from, apportioning blame and reviewing the protests and trying to make racing cleaner.
Right.
And making racing cleaner there's a number of ways of doing that, including, making the cars more consistent to drive. Like, that we've historically always messed around with the tires. Like, if the tires aren't predictable and the behavior of the car isn't predictable, then people can be more likely to make mistakes. And when you're driving, as you are, and you've clearly stated LMU's got great netcode, so you can drive alongside one another and not worry that you're just going to be pinged into infinity.
Yes.
As soon as you're doing stuff like that, then these small margins matter. So I think it's a collection of things, but it's something that we're proactively working on tackling, and we've been investing in it for a long time.
Fair enough. I'll move on to console now, because console is going to be a massive thing. So obviously, I'm not a console player, I'm a PC player, but console players have been starved when it comes to sim racing, in my opinion, for a long time. That's why I moved to PC from console. So how on earth are you going to even begin to integrate a console player with a PC player? Is that even going to be a thing? Are we talking crossplay? Are we not talking crossplay? Can you talk about that now or not?
I can't talk about the crossplay specifically because the product's still in development. We haven't announced a lot of things. However, I personally don't see that there's a PC player and a console player.
Okay.
I see it as it's just 2 different types of hardware. And there are a lot of people, I would imagine, and I used to be one of them, that go down the console path because it's more affordable.
Damn right.
For the most part.
Yeah.
As soon as you're in that PC rabbit hole. I mean, look at the setup that you've got. It's ridiculous. Like the amount of money that you spend in the hobby, and then we spend
Don't tell me. You could tell me wifey here.
Well, I don't know if she watches this. My kids will probably watch this, but they know not to report to mummy if they see anything in the background. Yeah. So the difference is we spend so much in the PC space because that's actually part of the enjoyment, like getting the latest gear, getting the the SimLabs thing. I've got a SimLabs race seat in there and a rig, and you get the wheel and the base, and then these different combinations. It's a never-ending journey, and it's nice to just like review. It's like window shopping, isn't it? All this kind of a kit that you can buy.
Yeah.
At least with a console, you just get the damn console, plug it into your TV somewhere, and then you can play on a control pad. And LMU is really good in a control pad. So I don't think it's necessarily that you get people, because a lot of PC elitists will say, and there's some truth to it, but there is a middle ground, that console players are just not cut out to enjoy sim racing. Like it's being gate kept over here. But actually, the view that we've always had at Motorsport Games, and it kind of failed to start properly before, and many years later, here we are, where we're not far from LMU coming to consoles now. To get a proper sim on a console, I think will be great. I think it will really work. I think it will resonate with players who want to drive something more meaningful, where a simulation is one of those things where you turn a lap or two and you go, I want to keep turning laps. This is enjoyable. Like I can feel this is different. It's not just a game. But where LMU may fall down, if it does fall down anywhere, is it's not built to just be a console game. It is a simulation that we're working very hard on to translate to console. So we've gone from high-end PCs with fast CPUs and crazy range of graphics cards to a console. The advantage is it's a defined piece of hardware, But actually, I think there's a load of people who would like to enjoy sim racing that don't have the space or don't have the funds right now for a PC.
Definitely.
And I've always wanted them to start here on console. And if they want to go down a rabbit hole, and I'd warn them against it because there's a lot of money to spend, they can jump up to a PC if they want. But people are already playing and doing very well in LMU on a PC with a control pad.
Well, we have to try it with a control pad then, because like I obviously played on control pad long before any of this stuff, and I enjoyed it. I played GT Sport on control pad for years, so I will try it on a controller. So we'll put what you're saying there to the test, and we'll see if it's half decent on a controller, because I've never tried it, so we'll give it a go.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was reading something the other day. I've been on vacation. I only flew back in overnight last night, and there was a few people talking about the control pad. This is why I feel very confident about it. Somebody going, yeah, it's good. I was on Reddit or something. It's really good on a control pad. I'm competitive. That bodes well for console.
Yeah.
Because if it's rubbish and control pad and you go into console, then you're dead in the water.
It is indeed.
So hopefully a lot of people, it will resonate with an audience on console, and they get a taste of what it's like to drive a simulation game. Because I don't think, I'm not trying to be rude to any other developers here, I don't think there's anything available on console where you can really say, oh, that's a proper sim. There used to be a long time ago, odd game here or there that probably sold a few 100,000 units. And I think it's worth a shot.
I think ACC is as close as you're getting on PS5, for example. I think it would be a Sequential Corsa, yeah. I think that's probably it.
Yeah. So I'll be very excited when it comes out, and I've not put a release, date on there right now because it's still in development. It's going well, and hopefully we'll get a few more sim players of the future in via console.
Awesome. Okay, so for PC players then, or just rather for LMU players currently as we are, again, I'll say things very blunt and as they are. Practice servers. I did a video on them because I think they suck. So I think it's bad to like jump onto something and have so you got 12 minutes. So if I jump into a practice server and I've got 12 minutes in a hypercar to practice, I spend 6 of those minutes, if not more, warming the tyres up. I have no idea when I get into that race how those tyres are going to feel when they're fully warm. So I don't actually feel like I properly get a chance to practice, and going offline to do a race weekend, it's just a bit of a faff. So is there anything in terms of practice servers that you're thinking of doing? Is it an issue that you're aware of?
Yeah, it's an issue we're aware of. We're thinking of making it 13 minutes so that you got a bit more time to practice. Yeah, no worries. There's Practice Plus, servers and services coming to the game so that people can more meaningfully practice before these sessions begin. Because we agree internally as well. We see there's a disparity in the setup and the focus and, the general approach to playing offline versus online. So we're starting to fix that. When we do have these practice servers up, I know I'm the kind of, the corporate CEO saying, oh, it costs a lot of money. It does cost us a lot of money. You should see those bills coming in for all the servers that we're running. And it's a cost that we've been eating ourselves, and we will expand the scope of that so that practice becomes easy, because it's a hot topic internally as well. There's a regular community meeting that happens inside the studio where all this feedback is collated and is presented to the teams, so that we can kind of keep a finger on the pulse. And that doesn't mean that we necessarily jump to something and fix it from one report to the next day.
Yeah.
But it gets fed into the planning of what we want to do. And that definitely is an issue. And we find it a pain as well. So we're starting to address that with the upcoming updates. And there will be servers out there. And more people that buy the DLC, more people that play the game, buy the game. There's people coming in all the time. All of that money gets reinvested into providing a better service, whether that's back-end service in terms of code and features and functionality, more servers for practicing. Those things will get addressed.
I don't think there's anybody under any illusions, but certainly anybody that's like myself isn't under no illusion that these servers cost you money. I get that. My bills have gone up, so I fully expect everybody's business bills to have gone up as well. So it's these things that don't come for free. You know what I mean? So I think most people are going to be pretty understanding about that, to be quite honest with you. It kind of is what it is. It's just one of those things that you can find frustrating. Was the practice servers rather.
Yes, we get that, yeah.
In relation to iRacing, so we'll talk about a direct competitor. So
what's that game called?
iRacing, but we're not in your in your Discord now. All right, we're not in the Le Mans Ultimate Discord. We can mention whatever we're in my house now, so we're going to mention whatever I want. So
iRacing.
iRacing it's definitely the daddy when it comes to player numbers. I've gone red there. It's definitely iRacing when it comes to player numbers. But in terms of actual competition, I think Le Mans Ultimate's the only one I've ever heard of that's been actually spoken about as a direct competitor to iRacing. Is that something that you're aware of, or do you see yourself as a rival to iRacing, or no?
Feels like a very loaded question. I mean, I say this with the greatest respect to the team at iRacing and iRacing as a product, because I think it's phenomenal. And they've really stayed the course. They've got a great following. They paved the way for a lot of people in sim racing, and we get on very well with them. I don't treat them as a competitor. I actually don't treat any of the other alternative products out there from, I don't mind talking about them. The Kunos guys, Project Cars guys, Aris, and whatever it will be, motor racing these days. I can't remember. I don't spend a lot of time caring about what they're up to. I do take notice because I'm interested in sim racing, but we try to carve our own path out for LMU. That's what we've always tried to stay true to, certainly since we rebuilt the company and turned things around. I'd rather we fall on our own sword, like we make our own decisions. We're not following on the coattails of anybody else and trying to copy what they're doing. There might be similarities, like iRacing is an online service, LMU is predominantly an online a title and service, but they're doing their own things. And I'd say they're very tried and tested what iRacing wants to do. And it's been phenomenally successful and continues to be successful to this day. And LMU carved its own path. And there are similarities where some people will say it's an alternative and it's an option. And we do see a growing number of people saying, I cancel my racing subscription, I'm moving to LMU because of ABC. I'm sure there are people that played LMU and then jumped to iRacing to try it out and preferred the variety that's available there. LMU isn't a direct comparative product to the iRacing offering. It's its own thing, and there are some similarities. So our view at Motorsport Games and Studio 397 is very different, very similar to the one at iRacing, when they say, to us, we're happy to see you be successful because you're increasing the pool of available sim racing players. Yeah. And it's the same for us. If iRacing was gone tomorrow, then I think the market would be much smaller and worse without.
Definitely.
Yeah. I see it as a healthy competition, because if we were the only game in town, the only sim in town, maybe we'd be a bit too comfortable. Yep. So I think it's valuable. Yeah,
I love competition. I think competition's awesome for all players. I'm not a big iRacer. I do bits and bobs. You know what I mean? I don't do it all the time. I do little bits. But I personally think that for the team and for yourselves, I would say that to be spoken about the way that you are alongside iRacing, I think that's a really big positive for yourselves, to be quite honest. I think it shows how well you've done, because Le Mans Ultimate's a different game to the one that I did my very first video on. It's a very different game today than it was like over a year ago. You know what I mean? So I think it's really good and shows the progress made, to be fair.
Yeah, we're proud of it, absolutely, because they're at the top of the game. And if people consider us to be a viable alternative for whatever reason they have, then that speaks volumes. But we don't dine out on that. We have to keep pushing forwards. But it means we're doing well, I think. But we could always do better.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, 2 quick ones then. I think will be quick. So, the actual title of your game, Le Mans Ultimate, does that somewhat hinder what you're able to do in terms of branching out? The actual name, the title of the game, does that stop you from branching out more than, say, when you wanted to branch out on rFactor 2 and do something different?
I think it's naturally got a focus that it brings to the product offering. We're not going to have rally in there, for example. And you can see what we're doing with the US tracks and that content, which isn't licensed directly, with IMSA, but we do have a good relationship with NASCAR, and we license and pay for those individual pieces of content and licenses. We bring them to Le Mans Ultimate. That's probably us just trying this out, because Le Mans Ultimate is a joint venture with the ACO, the group behind Le Mans. And that is a business. It's a joint venture where we're both in this together. The US tracks don't come through the ACO. They don't come through Le Mans. It's nothing to do with that deal. But we wanted to offer more variety to players, especially in the US, within Le Mans Ultimate, because you all have seen all of the requests all the time for, why don't you chuck this track in there? Why don't you add this car? And I think that's a good thing, because people are enjoying driving in LMU, having a great time, and they just want more things in there. Eventually, probably that would make it more like iRacing. We've had the self-discipline to just try to focus on that narrow Le Mans experience, European Le Mans, it's World Endurance Championship, and we're kind of like pushing the sides of this now with the US track content. I think players want it. I don't imagine that becomes a free-for-all for content variety in Le Mans Ultimate because of the name, because of what we could do in the future with this technology, and also the fact that it's a joint venture with the ACO. That may limit the scope in future, but there's other ways of getting around that, and this is our first foray into doing something different.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to them tracks, obviously. Can't wait for them. In terms of Le Mans Ultimate, then, is there a point where Le Mans Ultimate, start again. In terms of Le Mans Ultimate, is there a point where the game is classed as finished? Like ACC. So like ACC now we're done. It's finished. Is there a point where Le Mans Ultimate is finished, or is it something that you can still see expanding for a good few years to come?
I think it could definitely expand for a good few years to come. Don't forget the console has not arrived yet. And I wouldn't want us to walk away from LMU the moment the console version arrives, because that feels like maybe the mid game, not the end game. And there's a lot more variety. I mean, these discussions are in the process at the moment with our JV partners as to what we can build into it in the future, because there are some restrictions there, and we're trying new things with the US tracks. I like to have options in front of us, because the landscape is very dynamic. We don't know what other people are doing tomorrow, what gamer trends will be. But I think that there is much, much more to do with Le Mans, including bringing this career mode that everybody's been clamoring for to the title.
Yep.
That would improve the tail for single players, certainly, over the longer term. And we're not short of ideas. I don't think the product ever really gets finished. And I think, on a personal level, and I'm not saying this with my CEO hat on, I think the likes of ACC finished too early.
Yeah.
Like there was scope to do a ton more things with that. And in some ways, as a player, I'd say it was disappointing that it was just boom, dropped. And then, they just focused elsewhere. I don't want to do that to LMU. I don't think it would be right. And I think it's got a massive runway to go. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't be working on something else as well.
Yep.
But LMU is far from over.
Awesome. That's good to hear, obviously, on a personal level, and I'm sure that loads of people that are watching this will love that as well. So very, very quickly, final question then. What's the one thing that your players whinge about that's actually really difficult to fix?
I mean, I'm just scanning through my mind now of all of the complaints that I'm aware of.
Do you need a minute?
Yeah, I mean, what would be yours?
Well, I don't know how easy these things are to fix. So, do you know what I mean? I really don't know. So, if like I don't have like a load of issues. The one issue I have is an issue that you say you're working on, which is the practice servers. That's the one issue I have, because I'm constrained for time. If I jump onto practice, I want to practice, and you know what I mean. As I've already outlined to you, the reasons why I don't find the practice service particularly good. So that's been worked on. So for me, that seems absolutely fine. I don't really have many other massive issues. I suppose the driving standards will be another one, and again, that's another one that you say you're working on. So for me, I'd say you're working on fixing what are the main issues.
Yeah, but as soon as we fix them, I'm sure you'll come up with other main issues.
Well, me specifically, I'll come up with them.
Yeah, you will. You and other players. Because as humans, we tend to focus on, what's the improvement and improvement. So, maybe it's a tactic of ours to keep a couple of those annoyances around so that we could just focus on those and temper the development and expansion of the product. I think probably things like, replacing those horrible temporary cars that we have in sessions when you join or ongoing, and you get, stuff like that. I mean, that's been a personal, you wouldn't believe the hate that I've deployed internally about that. I just hate them. And that is a big fundamental technical thing that we would need to fix.
Right.
And some of those leaps maybe would happen between products, because the leap, even though we built on the R Factor technology, which was well regarded in many areas, it had lots of pain points as well. And every time we are able to detach from the technology, completely mess it up, rebuild it to step forward, and then deploy a product, it's in those gaps where you can do big tech changes without causing a problem internally. So, and I would hope that we would carry that LMU technology into something in the future, and that would be a big technical uplift, quite probably. So it's stuff like that,
That's a really good example, though. I like that example because as me sat here with like me Jeremy Clarkson head on, I go, how hard can it be for it to replace that car model to a different, you know what I mean, to actually be the car model that the player's using? But obviously you're saying it's difficult, so that's actually a very good example. So I like that one.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with game technology these days is, especially for smaller studios like ours, although you can see it in other studios as well, like you can get compromised by the technology that you use. There can be pros and cons. You can take a farming engine and try and make a racing game out of it, and it looks good from a business bean counting efficiency point of view. And then there are massive advantages because you've got a tools, a process. You understand how the technology works, but you're actually bending it to do something else, and you're compromising. The same for us. Like, it would have been cleaner for us to just build. I mean, my original plan for Motorsport Games was use the Unreal Engine and inject the simulation components of the R Factor engine from Studio 397 into it. And that has got its own pros and cons. A lot of people don't like UE because, a bunch of artifacting things, and a lot of the products can look similar. But from a development point of view, it could be much faster to build content in that kind of product. And then we could focus on the differentiators and the features. What we've actually ended up with, because of the history of the company, is upgrading the R Factor technology, which has got lots of positives. The netcode is a great one.
Stunning.
Had lots of negatives, like it could take forever to load into a track. Whereas you do UE gaming, it might be 20 seconds. Ours could be a couple of minutes on the low-end machine. We've proactively worked to improve that, and it's substantially better than where it was previously in our Factor 2. And the assets are more detailed. The textures are better, and things load faster. And we're running these online events all the time. We've got an online service. So we've invested in trying to build that whole ecosystem for players so that they can jump into races, have a great time, and then find reasons to complain because they want improvements. And that's great. That means what we're doing is working.
Yes.
And the product is continually improving. Sometimes it's not as fast as we like in some areas. Sometimes we trip over and make mistakes, and that is very frustrating for us internally. We're very, embarrassed about that when things go wrong. But we're trying to improve process. We're hiring new people all the time. The company gets healthier. And when people spend money on the product, that gets reinvested. But more important than anything, we care about the people that spend their time in our product. That's a great honor for us, because people can choose to spend their time, not just their money, but their time elsewhere. People aren't short of options out there. So when they spend time in LMU, that's really meaningful for us.
Brilliant. Well, obviously I've spent many an hour in LMU, and I'm sure I'll spend many an hour coming in LMU.
Yeah, and I look forward to racing you on track. When are you going to do one of those community events again? I've got my rig set up now.
I'm probably going to do it either the weekend coming or the weekend after, so I'll have to see with my shifts. It's always working around shifts for me.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, yeah. I mean, hopefully my ping won't be too bad from the middle of nowhere, but
we'll see if I else. Well, just get your excuses in early. Get your excuses in early. Yeah, it's no problem. Do that.
I'm well versed. Yeah.
Well, Stephen, I've really enjoyed it, mate. Thanks very much for tipping up and for speaking frankly and honestly about stuff, which obviously, like I say, is how I like to do things. So thanks very much.
Anytime. Loved it. Thank you so much.
Lovely. So there you go. The Rev got to interview Stephen Hood from Studio 397. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a good laugh, and I certainly would do it again. Did you enjoy this content? Do you enjoy seeing content like this? If you do, let me know in the comment section below, and we'll see what happens in the future. As always, I've been the Reverend. Thank you very much for watching.